In a world saturated with hustle culture and fleeting trends, where every guru promises the next big secret, what truly separates the lasting empires from the fallen startups? We're often told it's about grit, innovation, or a flawless business plan. But what if the ultimate key to success, especially in the rapidly evolving landscape of 2025, lies in a principle so fundamental, so often overlooked, that it might just shock you? Join us as we dissect the wisdom of Daymond John, the entrepreneurial titan, and uncover the surprising rule that he champions as paramount for the year ahead. In today's fast-changing world, what motivates us is shifting. It used to be all about external rewards, like titles, paychecks, or promotions. But now, people are craving something deeper: purpose. More than ever, both individuals and companies are realizing that meaning matters more than money. Employees are no longer just chasing bigger paychecks. They're looking for balance, personal growth, and work that feels meaningful. And this isn't just some feel-good idea. It's backed by data. Gallup's 2024 State of the Global Workplace report showed that while employee engagement hasn't improved much and stress levels are up, strong leadership can make a big difference. In fact, employees who feel supported by great leaders are nearly 60% less likely to feel stressed. Once the basics, like salary and benefits, are covered, people naturally start looking for more fulfillment in their jobs. And when they find it, the results speak for themselves. Companies with highly engaged teams saw an 18% boost in productivity and a 23% increase in profitability. Purpose really does pay off. As Simon Sinek once said, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And in 2025, that message rings truer than ever. The growing need for motivation isn't just a passing trend. It's becoming essential, especially in our fast-paced digital world. With so much noise and distraction, people are hungry for real connection and inspiration. They want leaders and content that speaks to them on a human level. Remote work has only made this shift stronger. By the end of 2023, 28% of workers globally were working remotely, up from 20% in 2020. And 91% of those people say they'd prefer to keep working remotely or in a hybrid setup. That kind of freedom demands self-motivation. While remote workers are actually more productive, HubSpot found they spend 22% more time focused. They also face new challenges like loneliness and blurred work-life boundaries. That's why inner strength, mindset training, and personal growth aren't just nice-to-haves anymore, they're must-haves. Since the pandemic, there's been a huge rise in wellness and mindfulness programs at work, and for good reason. People are seeking tools to manage stress, stay balanced, and grow personally and professionally. While some say the mindfulness trend has peaked, research shows otherwise. Interest in mindfulness at work is still growing by nearly 20% every year. This isn't just a fad, it's a long-term strategy for better performance and well-being. Few people embody the power of inner drive better than Daymond John. From his early days in Queens to building the global brand FUBU, his story is all about grit, vision, and believing in yourself. On Shark Tank, he's known for cutting straight to the point and asking entrepreneurs one powerful question: why?
Well, as somebody who went through so much crap over the last 5-10 years, and they risked everything and they figured it out.
Because he knows that lasting success comes not just from a solid business plan, but from a deep sense of purpose behind it. He's also honest about the struggles. As he puts it, "I've failed way more than I've succeeded." But that's exactly the point. Real motivation isn't about never failing, it's about never giving up. He says, the only way to make sure a project fails is to quit on it. In a world that keeps changing, values like perseverance, resilience, and purpose remain our strongest foundation. You've probably heard the myths. If you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, you need deep pockets, the perfect product, or a killer network. And sure, those things help. But Daymond John, entrepreneur, investor, and Shark Tank legend, is here to tell you that the real secret runs much deeper. In his recent talks, including one at JCK 2025, and through his well-known shark points like shape your own destiny and keep swimming, Daymond keeps making one point loud and clear. Success starts from within. So, what's his number one rule for 2025? It's not about how much money you have. It's not about who you know. It's this: know yourself. And no, he's not just throwing out another motivational quote. He means it, literally. This isn't just feel-good advice, it's a strategy. Know your values, he says. Know your mission. Know the real reason why you're doing what you're doing. Because if you don't, you're leaving it up to everyone else to decide who you are and what you stand for. He puts it bluntly: if you can't tell me in 2 to 5 words what you stand for when you walk into a room, then you let others define it for you. That's not branding. That's being real with yourself and with the world. Daymond lives by this. He runs a small, close-knit team because he believes in knowing people. Not just their names, but what they care about, what drives them. And that kind of connection doesn't come from reading a business book. It comes from knowing who you are and surrounding yourself with people who share that truth. Why knowing yourself matters more than ever. In 2025, authenticity isn't just nice to have. It's everything. People, especially younger generations, aren't buying products anymore. They're buying stories, values, and brands they believe in. A recent study shows that shoppers today look for transparency, ethics, and purpose. They want to support businesses that match their beliefs. That's why fake influencer campaigns are failing and real. Purpose-driven brands are thriving. User-generated content, UGC, is blowing up for the same reason. Nearly every online shopper reads reviews before buying something. Why? Because we trust real people more than polished ads. Authenticity wins, and it starts with the person leading the brand, knowing who they truly are. Let's be real. Entrepreneurship is hard. There are going to be setbacks. Daymond himself admits, "I've failed way more than I've succeeded." But he never stopped moving forward. Why? Self-awareness builds resilience. It helps you see the difference between a bump in the road and a sign to change direction. As he says, the only way to make sure a project fails is to quit on it. Studies in 2025 back this up. Entrepreneurs who understand themselves, what makes them tick, what drains them, what motivates them, are better at handling stress, staying positive, and bouncing back after a setback. When you know who you are, you stop chasing every shiny new trend. You start focusing on what actually aligns with your strengths, your passions, and your long-term vision. Daymond's advice? Start small. Test things out. Make your mistakes while you're still small enough to recover. And most importantly, stay true to yourself throughout the journey. Knowing yourself helps you learn faster, take smarter risks, and course correct without losing your sense of self. It becomes your filter for every decision you make. Daymond John's top rule for 2025 isn't just about business success. It's about life success. Know thyself isn't about ego or trying to impress anyone. It's about building everything you do on a foundation of truth. In a world full of noise, distraction, and fakeness, that kind of clarity cuts through. And that's how you build something real. Real leadership doesn't start in a fancy boardroom or during a big presentation. It starts from within. The best leaders aren't the ones with the loudest voices or the most experience. They're the ones who truly understand themselves. When you know your emotions, how you communicate, and what makes you tick, you're way more prepared to handle pressure, build trust, and lead with empathy. Research from Korn Ferry shows that self-aware leaders are 36% more likely to perform at a high level. That's because self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. The real skill behind resolving conflict, managing teams, and making genuine human connections. Daymond John once said, "Don't focus on you. Focus on what you can give others." But here's the truth. You can't really give, lead, or serve if you don't first understand yourself. When you know your strengths and weaknesses, you stop trying to do everything alone. You learn to delegate well, appreciate other people's talents, and create a space where different perspectives matter. A study from 2024 even found that people who are self-aware tend to be more in tune with how their actions affect the group, which leads to better teamwork and stronger results. This same kind of inner clarity also plays a huge role in financial decision-making. Daymond's idea of the power of broke has taken on a deeper meaning in 2025. It's not just about starting a business with little money anymore. It's about knowing your financial limits, understanding your relationship with money, and using what you have creatively. This mindset helps entrepreneurs avoid rushed decisions and instead operate from a place of purpose rather than panic. As Daymond puts it, the most important part, the financial intelligence, is building a structure so that when you want investment, someone can actually invest in you. Real financial readiness comes from knowing your habits, your risk tolerance, and what your business truly needs, not just what looks good on paper. Data supports this too. According to the 2024 Intuit Financial Literacy Survey, only 15% of women entrepreneurs felt confident in their financial knowledge before launching, compared to 31% of men. That gap shows how much self-confidence affects financial choices. And with small businesses still facing tight lending rules and rising costs, those who understand their finances deeply are the ones finding smart alternatives, like factoring, instead of getting stuck in debt cycles. In today's digital world, your personal brand is more powerful than ever, but it has to come from a real place. People aren't moved by perfect logos or catchy slogans. They want authenticity, transparency, and stories they can relate to. Gen Z especially is driving this shift. Studies from 2024 and 2025 show that audiences now value realness over perfection, with raw storytelling and short-form video content dominating social platforms. User-generated content, UGC, is everywhere too. Nearly every online shopper reads reviews before buying something. Why? Because we trust people more than polished ads. Self-awareness fuels that kind of connection. It helps entrepreneurs answer 3 key questions. Why me? Why now? Why this? These questions shape your message in a way that feels meaningful and true. Why me is about your unique experiences. Why now speaks to why your work matters today. Why this connects your product or service back to your purpose. Without that deep sense of self, your answers might sound empty or forced. Even job seekers need to show up authentically. Career Builder found that 47% of employers are less likely to consider candidates without an online presence. And according to Edelman's Trust Barometer, 63% of consumers trust influencer opinions more than brand messaging. The message is clear. People trust people. And to earn that trust, you've got to know who you are. Adaptability also starts from within. Entrepreneurs who stay rooted in their values and mission are far more likely to pivot when needed, without losing sight of who they are. That's what separates the ones who grow from the ones who fall apart. In 2024, 92% of successful startups changed direction at least once. Startups that didn't pivot or waited too long made up 80% of failures. Daymond John says it best: the time will never be perfect. You can only make perfect use of your time. That's not just inspiring, it's wise. In fast-moving markets, there's no foolproof plan. But when you know what you stand for and what you're willing to risk, you can move forward confidently, even when things get messy. That's why self-awareness is becoming one of the most valuable skills today. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report 2025 lists motivation and self-awareness as two of the top 5 skills needed for the future of work. Whether you're leading a team or growing your own business, being in touch with yourself allows you to think clearly, manage your emotions, and thrive in unpredictable times. Knowing yourself doesn't just make you smarter, it makes you more adaptable, humble, and ready for whatever comes next. When you look at the people who've made a real impact, whether in business, politics, or culture, one thing stands out: self-awareness. It's not just about knowing what you want. It's about knowing who you are, what you stand for, and why you do what you do. Take Jeff Bezos, for example. He built Amazon into one of the biggest companies in the world. But it wasn't just because of logistics or technology. A big part of his success came from what he called the day one mindset, a constant focus on innovation, customer experience, and staying hungry like a startup. Even as Amazon grew massive, Bezos fought to keep that early-stage energy alive. That kind of consistency didn't come from a marketing plan. It came from a deep understanding of Amazon's original mission and purpose. Oprah Winfrey is another great example. She didn't build her media empire just by being good on camera or having the right timing. She did it by being deeply authentic. Her ability to connect with millions came from her own journey of personal growth, healing, and clarity. She turned her life experiences into something bigger, something that helped others feel seen and understood. And even years after her show ended, she's still relevant. Not because of fame, but because she never lost touch with who she really was. Then there's Abraham Lincoln. His leadership during one of the toughest times in American history wasn't about popularity or political strategy. It was about conviction, empathy, and deep reflection. He stayed grounded in his values, even when it cost him support. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." That's not just a quote. It's a reminder that real leadership comes from within, especially when things get tough. In the world of motivation and influence, the same rule applies. The most lasting voices aren't the flashiest or the loudest. They're the ones who live what they teach. Tony Robbins has been around for decades, not just because he's charismatic, but because his message feels real. You can tell It's not just theory. It's something he's worked through personally. Gary Vaynerchuk is another example. He's raw, honest, and doesn't hold back. He knows who he is and leans into it, something that actually helps people trust him more in today's noisy digital world. A 2025 study by Stack Influence found that influencer campaigns based on real stories and shared values got over 67% more engagement than those that were polished and product-focused. Even more telling, micro-influencers, those with smaller but more connected audiences, saw conversion rates over 20% higher than big-name influencers. The takeaway? In 2025, authenticity isn't a nice-to-have. It's everything. This pattern shows up in startups too. Some of the most successful companies weren't dreamed up in boardrooms. They came from real-life problems their founders had experienced firsthand. Guillaume Poussaz started Checkout.com after getting frustrated with how complicated global payments were. Melanie Perkins created Canva because she struggled with design tools in school. These weren't random ideas. They were born from personal pain points. And that's exactly why they hit home for so many people. From billionaires to presidents, thought leaders to first-time founders, the lesson stays the same. Lasting success isn't about luck, trends, or hype. It's about knowing yourself, standing firm in your values, and staying true to your purpose. In a world that's changing faster than ever and filled with distractions, that kind of inner clarity isn't just helpful. It's essential for survival. As the business world keeps changing, more people are realizing something important. Traditional entrepreneurship education has been missing a key ingredient. For years, schools and programs have focused on financial models, business plans, and market strategies. But they've often overlooked the inner mindset that actually helps entrepreneurs last over time. In 2025, there's a growing agreement among educators and leaders that self-awareness isn't just a nice-to-have soft skill. It's the foundation for smart decisions, emotional intelligence, and real leadership. Research is backing this up too. Studies show that when people develop a stronger sense of self, they handle stress better, respond more thoughtfully in tough moments, build stronger relationships, and make wiser choices. These are exactly the traits that help founders survive the ups and downs of building something from scratch. That's why more universities and leadership programs are starting to include emotional intelligence, values-based decision-making, and reflective thinking in their curriculums. It's not seen as abstract or fluffy anymore. It's being taught as a real, practical skill. When future entrepreneurs understand their own values, biases, and motivations, they're much better at choosing opportunities that fit their long-term goals. This doesn't just improve decision-making, it builds resilience, which no amount of technical training can replace on its own. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report 2025 even lists motivation and self-awareness as one of the top 5 most important skills for the future of work. That shows how much things are shifting. Employers aren't just looking for skills anymore. They're looking for people who know themselves, can manage their emotions, and adapt well to change. There are also more tools than ever to help people grow this kind of inner clarity, and they're becoming widely accepted. Mentorship, for example, continues to be one of the most powerful ways to get honest feedback and grow faster. An impressive 97% of people with mentors say it made a difference in their careers. And 93% of small businesses say mentoring helped them succeed. Mentees are promoted 5 times more often than those without guidance, and mentors themselves are 6 times more likely to get promoted. even more telling. 4 out of 5 CEOs say their mentor helped them avoid big mistakes. And yet, more than half of professionals still don't have a mentor, meaning there's a huge opportunity for more intentional support systems in the entrepreneurial world. Beyond mentorship, mindfulness is shedding its old New Age label and stepping into the spotlight as a serious business tool. Data from early 2025 shows that 82.6% of brokers are seeing more clients investing in meditation and mindfulness programs. These practices aren't seen as optional extras anymore. They're being recognized for what they really are: tools to sharpen focus, reduce stress, and stay calm under pressure. Companies are moving past one-time wellness perks and adopting long-term mental fitness strategies like resilience training and emotional regulation techniques. In fact, over 70% of brokers report increased investment in these areas, showing that this isn't a trend, it's a cultural shift. One of the simplest but most powerful tools gaining traction is journaling. Once considered a personal habit, it's now being embraced by leaders as a way to process experiences, track growth, and stay grounded. Research from early 2025 confirms that journaling improves mental health, boosts clarity, and helps fight burnout, a problem that nearly 70% of executives say is affecting their decision-making. Leaders who write regularly are able to reflect on past experiences, spot emotional patterns, and refine their goals over time. It gives them space to turn knee-jerk reactions into thoughtful responses, an essential skill for anyone navigating high-pressure environments. As these self-awareness practices become more mainstream, the role of motivational practitioners is also evolving. Coaches used to be seen mainly as cheerleaders or hype machines, but now they're being hired as strategic partners. The coaching industry itself is booming, valued at $6.25 billion globally in 2024 and expected to hit $7.3 billion by the end of 2025. That's a 60% jump since 2019, and the number of professional coaches is rising fast, expected to reach over 167,000 worldwide soon, more than double from just 6 years ago. But the most interesting part isn't just the growth, it's the shift in purpose. Coaches today are helping people build deep internal frameworks, not just giving pep talks. They guide clients through emotional intelligence training, resilience building, self-assessment, and long-term thinking, all skills that are now seen as crucial for lasting success. This evolution reflects the reality of modern entrepreneurship. Founders and professionals today are juggling remote teams, mental health challenges, rapid changes, and the desire to build meaningful businesses, not just profitable ones. In this environment, surface-level motivation doesn't cut it anymore. That's why coaching niches are expanding, from leadership coaching for women in tech, to Gen Z career mentorship, to burnout recovery for startup founders. These coaches aren't selling hype. They're offering systems for inner mastery. In short, the motivational niche is no longer about quick inspiration. It's about equipping people with the tools to stay grounded, focused, and adaptable for the long run. Because in today's world, knowing yourself isn't just a bonus. It's the secret to staying strong, making smart moves, and leading with purpose. And so, we arrive at the mouth of the river, having traced its currents through the vast landscapes of entrepreneurial wisdom. Daymond John's #1 business rule for 2025 isn't a secret formula, a market hack, or a fleeting trend. It is the timeless, profound, and often discomforting truth that before you can conquer any market, any challenge or any competitor, you must first conquer and understand yourself.